Police Commission meeting. Welcome all. And this meeting is being recorded, as the note says. All right, first item is minutes from the previous meeting of July 2021. Any additions, omissions, or corrections?
None here.
None.
Yeah, I didn't have any either, except Chief, at the end, at some point, we just want to go through, which I don't think I saw was the final budget for as of June 30th. Have we seen that? I don't think I saw that.
I don't think so, no.
I don't know if it's
I
coming
sent
out of
you a
finance. Yeah,
Yeah.
You
The
did?
summary after I got the explanation from the CFO.
okay. Could I just get another copy of that? 'Cause
Sure.
I've lost it somewhere, just to
Sure.
finalize that. And then what I'd like to do, since we have a guest this evening, Paul Feranga, who's the state's attorney for Stamford and Norwalk. He is item G. What I'd like to do is move item G up to item number 2 before the monthly reports. Can I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so welcome. If I can just fix this here. Continue. There. Okay. Paul, if you could talk to us about the topic is stolen vehicles and thefts from vehicles. What we can do to enhance the education process, the messages we can do here in town, what legislative initiatives are out there, and how we can have a more effective enforcement and prosecution. So Paul, if I could
Sure.
open the floor to you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here at your meeting tonight. Let me just start off by saying this. These cases, most of the stolen vehicle cases that we get in Fairfield County are handled by the juvenile courts, not by the adult court, because most of our offenders are under the age of 18. And I think the frustration is that these kids get arrested, they come into the system, and then they're walking out the door. And because they're in juvenile court, and because the legislature, in the past has basically revised the juvenile laws to be less punitive, there is no jail for these kids. I'm not saying that they should go to jail, especially for a first or second offense, but we see repeat offenders who are just, coming into the system, walking out the door, getting probation. And under our current system, that's all we can do under the laws that are in effect now. The most that these kids can get is 18 months of supervision. There could be detention. A judge could hold them detained while their case winds through the system, but there's an automatic review period, and I believe it's every 7 days. Their cases have to be reviewed by a superior court judge. So the reality is they're not being detained. It's deemed not a serious enough offense for them to be held over. When I say detention, I don't mean really jail. I mean a detention facility at the courthouse in Bridgeport or the courthouse in Norwalk. I should stress that there is no jail for juvenile offenders. The training center was closed several years ago, and it's no longer in existence. And so I think the prosecutors that handle these juvenile cases, have to deal with that frustration that there's really not, there's no bite here. There's really not much of a penalty other than supervision.
And who's doing the supervision?
The juvenile probation officers.
What does it describe what the supervision
Well, the
is?
supervision could be a number of things, and it's, it could be similar to what we see in adult court. It could be drug treatment. It could be, anger management classes. It could be, there's actually I believe a 6-month program for people who actually do steal cars. It's a 6-month program where they take classes, they learn about victim rights, the impact of what they do to victims. And then if they successfully complete that, the charges get dismissed, which is fine because you really don't get a criminal record anyway, when you're in the juvenile system. So that's one of the diversionary programs that they could, implement as part of someone's supervision or probation. So it could be any number of things. It could be, family violence, education, anything of that sort. I mean, they look to the kids' needs, and they do a great job at that, and they tailor the supervision for what the kids need, and that's basically how it works.
Do we see that it's one-off kids doing this, or is it sort of a gang? Or
So-
is it a sort of a club action?
Yeah,
Or
so-
how is that?
So I talked to John Capozzi, who is our juvenile prosecutor here in this district, and he was telling me that in the past it was generally kids joyriding, but of late, and I mean of late, maybe within the last couple of years, it's more gang related. They take these cars to do more crimes. Okay, they park them in Waterbury, some in Bridgeport, Hartford. They're designed to, like I say, to facilitate further criminal activity. Sometimes John was mentioning to me that sometimes they're even sold abroad. So it is a larger operation rather than just kids stealing cars for the fun of it.
And this is all these laws are all state driven, right? On
Right.
what can be done with them once we catch them. A lot of times we just can't seem to catch them either.
Well, that's the hard part. Yeah, I mean, I know that one of the questions was about, I think the Republican proposal was about, mandatory DNA testing. A lot of times I'll tell the police, even if you find the car up in Waterbury, swab it. We might get lucky and find, get DNA evidence. But even if we do, how do we prove that that person stole the car? That person could just be a passenger who could have been picked up and didn't know the car was stolen. Or even if he did know the car was stolen, that doesn't mean he stole it. So getting DNA off a steering wheel, doesn't necessarily mean that we have a rock solid case. We still have a hard case to prove.
What's your estimate of what percentage of car thefts is there at rest?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I mean, I would think it would not be high though. I mean, unless they were found,
50%?
definitely not 50%. I think it would definitely be below that, because unless we find the person operating the vehicle shortly after the theft, there's no way, we have to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt that that person actually took the vehicle. The other issue is, in proving a larceny, we have to show that the person intended to permanently deprive the owner of the vehicle. So when we have cases like joyriding cases, they're hard we generally don't charge larceny because we can't prove it. We charge the misdemeanor of using a motor vehicle without the owner's permission. We don't have that intent element that we would have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt in a larceny case. So they're not, like I say, unless they're caught red-handed, if they're on camera, in a security system, these are going to be tough cases to prove. I would recommend, the issue of how do we prevent this, we really need to continue to stress to simply lock your car, because most of these cases stem from unlocked vehicles where people are leaving their key fobs in the car. And what I've heard from the juvenile prosecutors, that these kids, don't know really how to steal cars like they used to. They don't know how to break, they don't know how to get them running like they used to, because cars, the technology has advanced. But if you leave your keys in the car, you're a sitting duck. I mean, people have to realize that they're not, just because they live, in New Canaan or Westport or the suburbs, that they're immune from, this kind of activity. The kids know, that these are where the expensive cars are. So these towns are targeted, and then they're going after people, who live here. So the simple solution would be, just be realistic. Don't be naive. Lock your car door.
Is there any difference between a Darien, New Canaan, Greenwich, Westport in terms of cars being stolen?
No,
It's sort of just the same.
it's really almost like an epidemic. I mean, we see it all over the wealthy towns, and we see even in Stanford. A lot of areas in Stanford, there's break-ins, all the time. So it's out there. I mean, it's not only car break-ins. We have burglary gangs that are burglarizing homes. They come from outside this country, and I've seen them in New York, Massachusetts. It's all over the place.
Right. We haven't seen that, fortunately, yet.
Yeah, I've seen it in Westport. I've seen it in Stanford, and a wealthy area of a gated community in Stanford with it. They go in, they're out. They go back home to where they are. New people come in. It's really very frightening.
But in the cars that have been stolen here, none of them have the windows broken for the most part. You know, a couple of break-ins at the park, right, Chief?
Not one was broken.
Not one was broken.
Nope.
Okay.
All keys in it.
All keys in, all
Unlocked.
unlocked. With bags or, you know,
It
purses.
makes sense. If you left your keys, you didn't lock it because.
Sure. It's 32 so far this year, which exceeds last year. So if that trend continues, we're gonna,
Yeah, I think that's a run rate of 54 or something.
Yeah.
So it's,
right.
Yeah. we're gonna-
I mean, so we're, we're frustrated like everyone is, and
Right.
we're doing our best to try to figure out what we can do better. And in fact, a resident reached out to me and said she's a marketing person, and I talked to her for a while, and she's going to send me a draft plan of what she thinks maybe we can do better cohesively. Some kind of 30-day campaign, maybe look at things a little different, maybe put yard signs, maybe the messaging signs, and just kind of reinforce the message of lock your car and take your key in. It's so simple. It's
Yeah, I think there was like
preventable.
what is it, lock it or lose it?
Yeah,
I've seen that before,
yeah.
which hopefully
It's catchy.
It's catchy, right?
Hasn't caught
It's like
on
the
yet.
seatbelt,
Yeah.
Yeah. And-
Because there's no,
When was the, I'm sorry.
there's no kind of follow-up against somebody who leaves the keys in their car.
Right.
I mean, they are the victim.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's sad because we see people who you're right, they leave their purse and there's hundreds of dollars in there, and I think there's just that.
Thousands.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's just a naivete that this is not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen, in New Canaan, and it does. It will happen. And it has, obviously. There's been a number of proposals. I don't know if the people here are familiar with the Republican proposal, but one was to allow juvenile records to be accessible by police officers who are seeking to detain juveniles, and I think that's actually been implemented.
That's right.
Which is I think a good thing. There was also a proposal about making mandatory fingerprinting of juveniles, but my understanding is unless they're given a summons and they're not actually arrested, if they are arrested, they are fingerprinted like anyone else.
So if they are arrested, we catch them, they are fingerprinted, right?
Yeah, they would be fingerprinted,
Right.
but like I said, each case is kind of a little unique. I think as Paul pointed to, the key is our legislators kind of taking some action and revising some of our laws and putting some parameters in place for the repeat offenders. And I sent a bunch of suggestions along to several of our legislators, and I think I'll invite them for our next meeting and see what they have to say and see what they think the probability of success is, because we're kind of at a loss on what we can do because our hands are kind of tied in that respect.
Right, and we only have so many people out on the road at any one time, and that's any department, whether it's here or Darien or
Right.
Westport or Stamford or Greenwich. We can't be everywhere all the time,
Nope.
and you can't just stop somebody for walking down. the
Well,
street.
yeah, and you can't profile or just stop a car because you think someone's suspicious looking.
Right.
I mean, that's obviously illegal.
Right.
There's also another proposal about possibly transferring it for repeat offenders, because a lot of these kids are transferring it to adult court for people who maybe this is their second or third, which I think is a good idea, because you have to realize there's very few charges out there that we can transfer to adult court, and they have limited over the years, the legislature, the kind of crimes that we can. And unfortunately, I have the list here. Most of these cars are expensive, so they would fall under a larceny 1 category, over $20,000, non-transferable. So we cannot transfer a B felony larceny 1 to adult court currently. No.
Regardless of how many times the
It
offender.
doesn't make any difference. So that would be something good if they change that. I should also add, like, even in adult court, I mean, these kids doesn't mean that we're gonna lock them up and throw away the key. There's the status of youthful offender, okay, which is sort of similar to juvenile court, where the courtroom is closed, your identity is confidential, but you go on probation, but hanging over your head is a possible jail sentence, which you don't have in the juvenile court system. So, the probation, if needed, can be intense, but if you violate, you have that danger of incarceration. And we don't have that now, unfortunately.
You mentioned that juveniles do not get a criminal record, but you also mentioned that if they were arrested, their fingerprints are taken. How do those fit together?
Well, there is, and again, I'm no expert on this, but I believe there's a statutory provision for erasure, after they reach a certain age, so their fingerprints would be erased.
That seems odd. So like I turn 18 and I'm been fingerprinted, but now they throw them away.
You've never been arrested.
I've been arrested.
Never been arrested once you're 18.
Yeah.
If you're a juvenile.
Even though I have.
Legally. You could be arrested a dozen times as a juvenile, but you've never been arrested once you become an adult. So it gets erased.
It's a weird, I don't understand the logic of that. You're now older.
Get your questions ready for
I think
next month.
I think probably the rationale is that you've gone through, you've done what you needed to do, and so we don't want to hamper you with, any kind of criminal record or any kind of vestige of a criminal record, and that would include your prints and whatever you went through when you got arrested.
Do you have to do something for the community and
No.
prove you're a good citizen that it gets erased? Is that what you're
No,
saying?
I mean you have to finish your probationary period if that's what you get.
Yeah.
But no, there's nothing that you have to do proactively by operation of law.
So there's no incentive for them
No,
to-
there really isn't. Well, if you cleaned up your act and you want to become a responsible citizen and you want to get a job, I think there's definitely incentive, but for many, there's not.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
I don't know if anyone has any other questions. I mean, there was a question about, I think one of the proposals talked about by the Republicans was about setting up a task force.
Mhm.
And I was just informed recently that there is a Fairfield County Auto Theft Task Force that's being implemented. And I don't know that New Canaan it's basically out of the towns in the Bridgeport, the Fairfield Judicial District, which is Bridgeport, Trumbull, Stratford. Westport is a member of it, but I don't see any of our towns. That's something that I'm going to look into to see that we can get funding for that. But again, I just want to stress that's going to result possibly in more arrests, but not, it's not going to have any impact on how the juvenile courts treat these cases, unfortunately. So I guess my parting advice would be, a public campaign to lock your cars
Yeah.
would really be a big help. Because like I say, all of these, 95% of these cases are cases where people did not lock their cars. They don't want the noise. They don't want to smash the window. They don't want to wake you up
That's right.
at night. They want to go in, grab your car, have fun with it, commit more crimes, and not get caught.
Well, and it is harder to steal. I don't know how you steal a car that's with all the electronics in it.
It's probably very, I mean, I remember in the old days, you break the steering column and you're able to, get in.
On
But
TV.
Right. Now with computers and computer chips and the fobs, it's probably a lot more difficult. And what I'm hearing is that they don't know how to do it. So you've made it easy when you leave your key in your fob, in the car.
First they go to computer school, then they
Yeah.
go on private cars.
Right.
So really what this comes down to is, as you were saying also, is that we really need to get the public on board.
Yeah.
Lock your cars, simple
Right.
as that.
And, people are coming in from, not just the neighboring, Norwalk or, whatever. I mean, we have people coming down from Waterbury, from Hartford. So
Yep.
you don't want,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want these people walking around my neighborhood. I mean, it's, next thing is getting into your house. So you have to be careful. You have to de-incentivize people from coming into, your community.
Yeah,
Criminals.
and we've been regularly putting messages out multiple times a week. So, through Instagram, through other social media, through the press. So now we're going to look at it a little different, and maybe there's something more we can do, but it's good common sense to me, but we'll try to push it out as best we can. A little detail is stolen cars where they're being recovered, 9 Bridgeport, 5 Waterbury, 4 New Haven. So that gives you an idea. 2 in Newark, New Jersey. We had a gentleman come from Newark, New Jersey, and his criminal case is pending right now in his stolen car, and stole a car and crashed the car, and we arrested him. So it tells you people are coming from all over.
Yeah, he wasn't a juvenile.
No, he was an
a
adult.
pro.
Yeah,
He's an adult,
That's
yeah.
the other fellow that our officers arrested
Yes,
on Marshall.
Last
Bridge
July.
or somewhere.
yeah, he actually, he pled guilty, and I think he was as Paul just explained, he was in pretrial confinement, so in jail for 7 months. So that was kind of his punishment per se.
7 months.
Which is
Yeah.
great. That's
Right.
tantamount
That's pretty long,
to
yeah.
to really like
He was
a
an adult.
14
Yeah.
month.
That's right. So hopefully, he'll become a productive citizen, but
Right.
we'll see.
Is that the one with the brother? Had the brother come back and pick him up?
Nope, that one's still pending. That's a new one from New Haven.
But they were over 21 or 21.
Yes, they were over 18 for sure. I think maybe they're 19 or 20. So it gives you an idea, but we believe the bulk of the 32 are juveniles. We just haven't caught them yet. And, we're looking at all options and, we can discuss more next meeting. Hopefully some of our legislators will show up. I did pass along some ideas I'll kind of touch on a little bit is, a dedicated state's attorney and prosecutor for the juvenile cases that might help fund and form county task forces. State did push out money for task forces. We didn't have enough stolen cars to get any money. I don't think Darien did either. Stanford did, Westport did. So it's kind of piecemeal. Fund and provide comprehensive support services, obviously for all these kids that do get arrested. There's things in the background that should be done to help get them on the right way. GPS monitoring for repeat offenders, juvenile DNA and fingerprint databases so that we can, if we do go swab or DNA or do fingerprints on a car that's recovered, we would have a database to draw from of these kids. Right now it's kind of hit and miss if we do in fact catch them in a database, whether it's DNA or fingerprinting. Form a juvenile accountability court of some sort. Maybe they can provide more cohesive services to these kids that are getting arrested and treat habitual juvenile offenders as adults. The kids are getting arrested a dozen times. But unless the law has changed, there's not a whole lot we can do. These are just suggestions. So
Maybe you reach out to your legislators.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
I
I think that's where it's
Yeah.
going to start because
Yeah.
otherwise it's, we're going to be just,
Sitting there. Yeah.
spinning
That's
our
right.
wheels.
And Paul, just tell us about the court system and how backed up it is.
We are, because of COVID, Stanford was fortunate in July to have done a jury trial that went to verdict. But from March, other than that one particular case, we have not tried a jury, other than that case, from March 2020 to now, we have not done any jury trials, other than that one. We're backed up incredibly. We were backed up beforehand, and it's been even made worse. We have 31 pending homicide cases that are sitting in this jurisdiction. One case, believe it or not, is 6 years old in November, a Stanford case. It was continued, continuously, for lack of a better word. One of the lawyers got out. The defendant had to hire a new lawyer. Then COVID hit. It's pretty unacceptable to us as prosecutors that the case has gone on that long. But we're backed up considerably. And it's
backlog. What's happening with judges to handle the cases?
okay. Well, that's a good question because one of the other issues is that the Norwalk geographical area court has been closed since COVID. And when they were open, Stanford Norwalk, which is one judicial district, we had, I believe, 6 judges at the time. Since the closure of Norwalk, and Norwalk is with us now in Stanford. Their cases are being heard in Stanford. We have 4 judges plus 1 judge that's sort of like a part-timer who does both civil and criminal. So, I mean, for us that basically renders it impossible for us to do a sufficient number of jury trials to make any headway in this backlog. So given our huge backlog, we actually have less judges on the criminal side to hear these cases. And the judges that we do have to do dockets, because most of our cases don't go to trial. They're resolved through diversionary programs or through plea negotiations. These judges are sitting in court all day doing these dockets. We need another judge to do pretrials, remote hearings, motions dockets. That leaves at most 1 judge to do a jury trial. And before the closure, we were doing, Norwalk was doing their jury trials. We were doing ours in Stanford. 2, 3 were going on at a time between both courts. Now we have less judges, so we're lucky if we could do 1. So we are really at a crisis point where we need judges to hear these cases. We have, we have enough staff, but we need judges. Without judges, we can't do it.
And would that be a state matter to hire more judges?
I mean, it's a matter of sending more judges down to Stanford, whether they're, whether they're hired or not. We just need to fill these positions. We need people down here to hear these cases. And I'm sure that's true of every jurisdiction because, again, there were no jury trials for, almost a year and a half. And you can imagine Bridgeport, or Hartford, where they have such volume. So we're not alone in that respect. But I think to give us, given a growing, Stanford's a growing community, Norwalk as well, to give this judicial district 4 judges, I think is really problematic.
Any other thoughts, questions?
No.
All right.
All right, Paul, thanks a lot.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I
Thank you.
enjoyed
That
it.
was
I hope
very
I was
informative.
somewhat informative,
Hopefully.
and have me back anytime. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thanks
a
for your
lot.
good work.
Take care.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Okay, if we could then move on to item number 2, department monthly reports, Chief.
Sure.
Excuse me, can I jump in 1 second? Hello?
So our first report is our budget, July 2021. We should be at 8.33 spent. Actual is 7.40, so that's good trend, no issues with July's budget. Next budget is August, and we should have been at 16.66, and our actual is 11.66. So that's under budget, so that's a good trend. So no concerns there.
I think a lot of that is overtime is down, right? Because we have enough officers.
Yeah, that helps, certainly. Yeah, we were probably 9% under budget last fiscal year overtime wise.
Yeah.
And we were under budget overall last fiscal year. And we'll get a summary to you for next meeting.
Yeah, be great. Okay.
And then animal control budget, 8.33, actual is 6.60. And then 2 months is 10.40. So under budget, full budget. So that's good news so far.
Right.
Hope that trend continues. Next item I have is our staffing reports for July and August. July, we had 26.60 lost time, approximately 53% of the time worked with minimum shift. And comparing months to past years, slightly higher lost time and increased minimum shifts compared to July 20, much better than July 19. And that's an indicator of an officer being on military leave for a year and an officer being on injury leave for quite a while. So that affects our staffing levels. Similarly, August, 25%,
Recording in progress.
55% on time shift. And that's actually a better lost time than August 20, August 19, and better minimum shift, even with those 2 officers that are completely off the schedule. And certainly SROs being back on the schedule helped with July and August.
Right. School's closed, right.
Next report I have is our monthly statistics. I'll just kind of highlight major incidents. Family disputes 39 so far this year versus 27 the same time last year. So that's an increase. And we have been seeing a fair amount of domestic disputes that are concerning. Larcenies from vehicles 36 versus 32. Once again, that crime prevention message, take your valuables in, lock your car, don't leave your key in it. Motor vehicle accident property damage 230 versus 145. And that's attributable to substantially increased traffic. Last year, due to COVID, there was a lot less traffic. So we expect those numbers to continue to climb. Motor vehicles accident injury 22 versus 19. And that's a pretty good number considering the substantial increase in traffic this year compared to last. Stolen vehicles 32 versus 20. So obviously that's a substantial increase, and we're hoping those numbers fall once people take good crime prevention measures.
Okay.
Next reports I have are false alarm aging. There is approximately 10,480 over 120 days uncollected, so that's not a good number. The likelihood of that being collected is low, but I continue to work with our CFO and finance department to try to collect that. There's been an improvement over the years and months, that's for sure. Extra duty aging, about $18,000 over 120, so that's not a good number either, because that becomes difficult to collect when it's that old. So I'll certainly pass along an emphasis to our CFO and finance department.
Yeah, excuse me, there's one big number and it looks like some of that was paid or all of that was paid. Yeah, probably a billing thing, and that is like 8,600 of the 18, so.
Right.
But the rest is, yeah. Okay.
And just another false alarm aging report,
Yeah.
self-explanatory. And that's all I have for
think-
reports.
Right, and then the next month in August, it came off.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Okay. Got it. Okay, next item is, let's go to A, which is road closure request for New Canaan High School ergathon.
Yep,
Anybody here to
that's me.
speak on that, Jennifer? Or is anybody out?
I'm here. Can you hear
I
me?
can't hear her. Hey, Maria, now I see you.
Can you hear me?
Can't hear you though. Are you muted?
No.
Try one more time.
No, she's not muted. I think your volume needs to go up.
Volume needs to go-
Volume.
Hang on, Maria, sorry.
Oh, how's that? Maria?
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Operator error. My fault.
Hi, how are you?
We're doing well, thanks. And you?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me here tonight. So in the past, New Canaan crew has come to the police commissioners meeting to ask for road closure where the pop-up park used to be. I'm not sure if they're still closing it for the pop-up park. They just had it closed.
Maria, don't go there, please.
Okay, they just had it closed a few weeks ago for the agencies to
Yes.
get together and something else the following night. So
Right.
we are looking for September 25th. It's a Saturday
The 25th? Okay.
from 8 to 11. We usually like to have it closed though from 7 to 12 so we can set up and break down. So 7 to 12. Also in the past, we have used the white fences that I believe Tiger has dropped off the night before on the corner of the mobile station. And we
Okay.
kind of barrier that in like at 10, 11 o'clock at night. So no cars park there during those hours at night. We
So
also,
really, then you really need it from the night before. Is that what you're asking?
we don't need it from the night before, but if cars show up prior to 7 a.m. in town, then there's a problem. So I don't mind coming up there at, you
I think
know,
we can, yeah, as the Deputy Chief said, we can cone that off
right.
and closing down the street.
Yep, something like,
Yeah.
yeah, we can cone off the parking area,
Yeah,
correct.
Okay.
So we usually bring up our our New Canaan crew trailer to also barricade, just so cars know not to pull in there. And what we have our athletes do is, we're a club that we don't get any funding from the high school, so we are solely funding ourselves. So the kids will be on the ergs, and they will do demonstrations, and then other people who are interested will come by and we will ask for donations, and fundraise. So they've been doing it for many years and have been super successful with the New Canaan community. So that is what we are asking from you guys tonight.
Okay, so it'd be September 25th from basically 7
September
a.m. till
25th.
12 noon, right? September 25th?
Yes,
And it's a Saturday.
yes.
Oh, look at my phone. Any questions here? Questions?
Maria, I'll just need all the insurance certificates and things like that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right, because today is the 15th, so you kind of got to get that in.
Right.
ASAP.
I can send them right over to you, Tucker.
Okay, Deputy Chief, anything?
No, I see Tiger's on. I don't think we have those picket fence
Is there any more?
barricades anymore. I think those are on loan to someone, but we can put some barricades out. We can barricade up the street. Just don't know if it'll be the picket fence.
We also we just made a couple more, John, too, because we were getting so many requests. But you're right. The original ones are out at one location, but we've made some more. So I think we should be able to accommodate.
Good.
Okay, and then if we could just cone it off before,
Yeah,
just
I'll have the night shift do that.
the night shift, put their cones there. There shouldn't be any cars there overnight anyway, but people show up at 6 in the morning or something to work or whatever. Okay, do I hear a motion to grant the New Canaan crew, New Canaan High School crew team, the space formerly known as the Pop-Up Park for the hours between 7 and noon on September 25th? Yes, motion.
Yes.
Second.
Yes.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Big supporters of the crew team. I am anyway.
Yes.
Maria, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you're all set.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you for doing this. Bye. Next item, road closure request for Stonehenge Drive block party. Stephen Gardner. Stephen?
Hi, can you hear me?
Hey, Stephen. Yeah, we see you now. Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. My name's Steve Gardner. I live at 84 Stonehenge Drive here in New Canaan. And I'm part of a committee that wants to reinstitute a block party that has happened at the Stonehenge Drive cul-de-sac in the past. Let me just take 3 quick minutes to summarize what we've done to date by way of planning for it, and then happy to address any questions. The date is Saturday, October 2nd from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock. We do not have a rain date. If it turns out to be rain, we might try to make some sort of arrangement, but we do not have a rain date as of now. The location is the cul-de-sac at the bottom of Stonehenge Drive. Our intention is to close off all of Stonehenge Drive. We just put out a couple of orange cones. They're not intended to block off the street because we're using the fire truck. So we invited the fire truck to come, so we want to have it open and access. But that's the area that we will be having the party. What we've done is send invitations to everyone on Stonehenge Drive, Woodridge Circle, Sherwood Lane, and Wellesley Drive. We did that with an email flyer and with a mailbox flyer and an email invitation. We got informed and got consent of all of the residents, and you should have this documentation. All of the residents who are affected by the closure, every person who has a driveway opening up onto Stonehenge Drive. We sent out the invitations. We've gotten 62 people confirmed, which we're very excited about, 36 adults and 24 kids. Our intention is to have a food and beverage truck, Coal House Pizza come. They'll do pizza, salads, cookies, brownies, soft drinks. There will be optional adult beverage service for adults, $20 per adult, $10 per child. Under 5 is free. We do intend to have the COVID truck, the fire truck, and we are sending out a kind of COVID honor system instructions in our invitation saying that we expect all people who are eligible for a vaccine, in other words, 12 and over, will be vaccinated in order to come. It is an outdoor event, so we feel that those steps taken should suffice. That's the summary of what we plan to do. We wanted to get your permission to go ahead.
Steve, what's a COVID truck? Did I understand that?
I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I was saying that the fire truck is coming to.
I hope we never have a COVID truck.
I don't know if we had a COVID truck in town, so.
Yeah, very bad mistake. I apologize for that. But what I was conflating 2 things there. Fire truck is coming, and we did take these COVID precautions.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I think it's wonderful that you're doing this, and I think, let's get back to normal as quickly as possible in this town. We really encourage that. Any questions from the commissioners?
Anything, John,
Anything,
that you,
Deputy Chief?
as long as
It's a-
everybody's on board and can.
The neighbors all
egress
seem,
if they
yeah,
want to,
yeah, they
and
signed.
Aware of it, and, after there's an emergency, we can just make sure.
And it's a cul-de-sac
the neighborhoods can
anyway.
Get down.
Right.
Shouldn't be a problem.
Great.
Sounds like Awesome party.
Sounds like a great party.
Let's hope,
Sounds like
yeah. We're hoping
all
for
right,
that.
wish you a lot of success with, hopefully it's a nice sunny day like today.
What was the date again, Paul? I'm sorry.
October 2nd,
From 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock.
October 2nd?
October,
October.
Saturday.
All right. I'll try to sweep the road beforehand on Friday or something for you.
That'd be nice.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Tiger. Motion to approve? Motion to approve, second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, you have unanimous approval. Good luck. Have a great party.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Really, thank you for doing
Thank
this.
you.
This is great.
Thanks.
Great idea.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Okay, number C, road closure for the Halloween block party. Chamber, who's speaking on this? Laura, are you there? Tucker, is Laura there?
She's muted.
I'm here. I'm here, Paul.
I got you.
Hey there. Yes, we would like to hold the Halloween block party on Elm Street and the South Elm intersection, the area formerly known as the Pop-Up Park. It would actually be on Halloween. So that is Sunday, October 31st. The event would be 12 to 2. So we'd probably want 11 to 3, same thing that Maria said for setup and breakdown. This event has not happened in 2 years. It was rained out in 2019 and it didn't happen because of COVID last year. We typically would meet up in the Park Street parking lot and then everyone would come down Park Street and then onto Elm Street. And we decided, you know, it's really not a parade. It's more of a block party. So we'd just like to close off Elm and the Pop-Up Park area for a couple hours. We'll have School of Rock there. Walter Stewart's is sponsoring. We'll have goodie bags for the kids. It's all outdoors. So, and there is no rain date. If it rains, we don't have it again.
Okay, so
we
this
tried
would
it
be
indoors.
basically Elm Street from Main to Park, right?
Correct.
And then extend out a little bit onto South, formerly known as that
Yes.
park, right? Okay. Any thoughts on this?
Sounds good.
Oh, it's a lovely
It's a
event.
lovely event.
Yeah.
It's a great town event. Deputy Chief, anything for that?
They're gonna hire a police officer.
Yeah, you're gonna hire a
Yes.
police officer to actually, I don't know if it's 2 or 3, but at each end or at each.
Yeah, I'm already on Jason's calendar. You know, we talked and kind of looked out throughout the whole year. So absolutely, at least 2, if not 3.
Yeah, I think it would be just helpful to have the police cars park across the street. you
Yep.
know, To block it both ways or all 3 intersections if possible.
Okay.
I think it just for safety.
Yep.
All right. All right, if you could coordinate that with Jason, that'd be great. Any, hey Tucker, do they need insurance? What's the deal there? Or,
Yeah, I'll have all that to her. I'm filling out the paperwork.
Yeah, she's already filled out the application, and then once she gets approval, she'll get her insurance certificate to me.
awesome. Okay, great. Looking forward to that. Motion to approve that? Yes.
So moved.
Yes.
Yes.
All those in
Yes.
favor? Aye. All right.
Aye.
3-0 there.
Okay.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. It's right, finally.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you, Laura. All right, bye. Okay, number D, letter D. New Canaan Ballet. Let's hear from Meredith and Billy McLeod.
Oh,
You on?
thanks for having us. Can you hear me okay?
I can, thank you.
Awesome. So I, appreciate you very much for allowing us to present our idea about bringing premium valet services into the center of town. And, we did present to the full parking commission last week. And we're proud to say that we've gotten some great feedback. I'm going to jump right into a deck. I know that I want to make sure everyone did receive the decks that we sent out.
Yes, we do. We've got him here.
Okay, awesome. But, for the most part, I think it's important that you guys know that through 6 months, we've been speaking to local town residents and business owners about this concept. And across the board, we literally have 100% buy-in from restaurant owners and some influencers in town I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go to, do I have the ability to share my screen?
Does he? Yes, you do.
Okay, so, share screen here.
It should be just your.
I'm currently disabled from sharing.
1 second, I'll,
Okay. No worries, thank you.
And I'll introduce myself. I'm Meredith McLeod. So I'm in partnership with my husband. I generally am going to be taking care of more of the back end part of the business. Billy has extensive valet experience. And it was something when we moved to New Canaan that we thought might be a really good idea to start a service, since it didn't seem like there was one in town.
Thank you.
And while they're getting that squared away,
you
literally.
could try it. You should be good to go.
Okay, let me go ahead and do that. Literally, the idea came about when my mother came into town and she was driving. She's 82, limited mobility, has a handicap, has had back surgeries. We couldn't find a handicap spot for her. And so we had to do something different. The next year, the same thing happened. And so 2 years in a row, she was kind of limited on what we could do in downtown, in town rather. And so we made a decision to see what we could do about offering free valet to handicapped and giving seniors more accessibility. Also, we've all seen the blinking lights in town where people are stopping and picking things up. And we've all, seen 4th Street bottlenecked. And I think we're going to improve traffic flow. So I'm going to try and share my screen here. And then I'm going to go to, there's one person can share at a time. Are you guys seeing my screen?
Now we do, yes. Now we don't. We just see your name.
You just see my name. Okay, so I'm going to try it again. Share screen. Here we go. Okay, can you see that?
Yes, yep.
Okay, terrific. I'm going to go to full screen mode here and give you guys a quick. So, the bottom line is, what are we asking for from you? I mean, this is my wife and myself, and our goal is, to provide a safe and efficient and friendly parking solution for New Canaan residents and visitors. Offering, disabled citizens much more accessibility, offering convenience to those who seek it, but also improving a lot of traffic flow, answering some what we have perceived to be problems on certain nights of the week. And we're only looking for Fridays and Saturday nights. We're only maybe on Sunday brunch. But our goal is that parking should always be easy. And so, what we're asking for is just the opportunity to prove to you that valet parking in New Canaan will offer better access to restaurants for handicapped and seniors, offer better traffic flow, making streets more safe, and offer convenience to residents and visitors. It's as simple as that. The deck is deep. I don't want to spend a lot of your time. You've already had it.
Yeah, we've gone through it quite a bit here.
Good. So that's why I'm going to boil it down to exactly what we're asking for. So we have had incredible buy-in from every restaurant on 4th Street. And I think that everybody we've spoken to times 10 has agreed, especially with the barriers, that is an issue with one lane, a lot of drop off and pickup problems in the middle of that road. What we're proposing, because there's only really one handicap spot on that street, we're proposing putting a valet stand right next to the parking, the pocket park, in front of the handicap parking spot. We will be out of the traffic flow, Chief, and we will be pulling cars in. Our technology allows us to check a car in a minute and a half. And they will receive an immediate text with their ticket. They can request their car from the inside of the restaurant, and we let them know when their car is there. Some people have asked, well, what happens if they don't come out? We literally give them less than a minute. If they don't come out, they immediately are sent another message to their text. I'm sorry, we're pulling your car around, and request your car again. So we have kind of built into the system the best technology in the industry to quickly park cars and move them along. We built it into the system where we can pre-plan, where people can request their cars in advance. We built it into the system where they can be told that their car is on its way and is out there. If they're not there to pick up their car, we circle it around because we are not idling and we're not stacking up. So number one, Forest Street, you can see the above view. We're looking at 3 spots. That's going to allow us to park a car, stage a car, no bottleneck whatsoever. And that allows us to do what we need to do. So we go down to Elm Street. We've had terrific interest from John Barker and Chef Luke, as well as the folks at Soleil. And everybody has said this is necessary, especially for handicapped and those with limited mobility, but also for folks that want the convenience. We are suggesting that we put the stand right there at the intersection of South and Elm. And we have a little bit of runway there. It's already striped. We do want to let you know that we know that the parking configuration is going to change.
Yeah, Billy, are you aware that, a lot of this is about to change with the bump outs that are going to go right there? The bump outs are going there, the bump outs are going on Elm and then on Spiga, because it's a state road, there's nothing, we can't approve anything on that, all right?
Well, and again, we are aware that things are going to change. We do again have the ability to make it a quick interchange. I'm more than willing to work with you on anything that makes the most sense, and talk with Chief, talk with the department to where they think it does make sense. I know the bump outs are going there. We can still accept cars because the stand will be behind the bump outs, and make it very easy. The bottom line is that the cars are currently parking there with blinking lights. I mean, we're just going to eliminate that. And there's no reason to park their car with blinking lights when we can do a runaround. It's basically a pickup valet. Like, we can take their car, circle the block. We'll be ready for them when their food is ready. I mean, it's happening. The second thing I'd mention is handicap accessibility. I have multiple images of people using this area right here, where they're dropping off their handicapped relative in a wheelchair. The closest handicap spot to this is at the corner of Main Street and Elm Street. And that's another opportunity for us as well. So we are open to suggestions. There's the opportunity to do it in front of the CBD location where the bike racks are. But again, the fact is that everybody has agreed that this is a benefit. This is just suggestions. We're looking for your input, but also the approval on the concept. And then, as you mentioned, this is a state road, Spiga, but those parking spots currently exist. They are there and they're being used. And we're looking at moving in front of Spiga. We have with 3 parking spaces right there. And we literally just take a quick trip around the block. Now, the reason we have this, even though the main lot is across the street, we interviewed over 100 people and asked them about what they do, their behavior when they come into New Canaan. And for the most part, they said what they love to do when they go in is they love to window shop on their way in. They shop for houses, see what's in the windows, but they don't want to do that on the way out. The good news is that if somebody was to drop a car off here at Spiga and then go down to Gates to listen to the band on Saturday night, or to have a coffee at Soleil, our technology allows us to drop their car off at any one of the 3 stands. So they can literally park here, walk around, and then have their car delivered to Gates. I don't know the solution on Forest, which is the biggest problem and the most interest we have. But I didn't see the new configurations that Forest Street is going to be affected by the new layout.
Well, with Forest Street, we're going to address that later with the barriers that are there now. The barriers were put there temporarily during COVID, and for the most part, COVID's over, in my mind. And then we'll talk about that later tonight.
So that was the goal. Forest Street was the biggest bottleneck, and that's the biggest interest. Elm Street was,
Right.
literally, John Barker and Chef Luke were very interested. They have been for years. I tried to talk to as many people as I could, folks, about this in advance, right? To
Right.
try and plan for traffic flow, to make sure that we weren't going to be backing anything up. Obviously, there are changes happening. I'm willing to move with the flow there. But, for example, Steve Carl said that he's been wanting to see this happen for 20 years. He almost did it himself. And he had never seen anybody get this far. So, we went to market with a model that's serving private homes. Nez and Joseph at Roger Sherman are wanting us to do private parties for them. So we went ahead and we went the whole way. We have the infrastructure in place. We are hiring for the positions, background checks, drug tests, motor vehicle history checks for all our employees, fully uniformed, the best insurance in the country, that municipalities accept all across the nation. And again, it's a beautiful, slender look. The stands are slender, they look good, and we have 28-inch Steelman traffic cones, Chief, that we can lay down in any area that we need to at any point in time to protect ourselves there. So you guys have seen our mission and vision, undoubtedly. The idea is to solve a problem. A lot of discussion has been made about a parking garage. I think that we can offer some mobility solutions for handicapped and seniors, but also give convenience to the residents at 3 locations triangulated.
I've got
Okay, if we can
two
have some questions
for you.
Yeah.
One is, have you operated a business like this in any other towns to date?
Dallas, Texas, I managed a valet operation for 7 years. The largest valet company in the state of Texas, one of the biggest in the country. And it's one of the reasons why Armor Park and US Risk offered us the best insurance in the country, is because we have an endorsement letter from Lone Star Valet endorsing this as an operational business. I was in the Navy for 8 years, working in a combat construction battalion as an equipment operator and supply tech. And again, and I've run smaller businesses in the past. And so I modeled this off the best businesses in the country. We have a 39-page deck of training and safety manuals. And all of this is why not only did we receive an insurance coverage for, and I can just get to it. You can take a look here. I mean, we are covered for, this is covering the town. This is covering the parking garages we park in. This is covering the cars we park. A copy of our workman's compensation. We also are covering all the people that are working for us. And this is the #1 valet parking insurance company in the country. And I'm telling you right now, folks, it is very difficult. And the reason why they gave this to us is because they believe in what we're doing here.
Okay.
That's how we prepared.
Let me get to my second question.
Yes.
Just so I understand what you're asking for 3 locations, if I read the deck correctly. But are you asking for more than 1 spot in each location?
Yes, there's a reason for that, and that's because of traffic flow. So when a car pulls in, and thank you for that question, by the way.
So before let me just get the basic. How many spots in each location are you seeking?
It really depends on the locations. They're all different. So
well, there's 3 of them.
Spiga is a unique situation. We're asking for approval for Spiga specifically for special events that the town and the chamber put on Elm Street. Good example would be sidewalk sale or the Halloween event. When my mom came in town recently, we couldn't get her close enough to the sidewalk sale because she can't really walk. So the reason we're asking for permission for Spiga, not only for special events for Gino, but also because if you guys are shutting down all of Elm Street.
Mr. McLean, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm interested in your mother and all that, but what I'm asking you is, how many spots do you need at each location? That's my question. You have 3 locations. How many spots at each of the locations? How many parking spots?
We're asking for in the images shown here, we are looking for 3 spots in front over to the left of Spiga. You can see on the image here.
Okay, 3. How about on Forest Street? How many?
Okay, so let me just finish that sentence real quick if I may, and I apologize. The reasoning behind that is because we're paying attention to traffic flow. And so when a car pulls into the spot.
I'm really just trying to get an answer to a very simple question. How many spots at each location? 3 at Spiga. Can you tell me the other 2?
Yep. So, and again, this is going to change here because these bumpers are coming out here. We're only really looking for a space and a half next to Elm. Right, you'll see to the left, but at the crosswalk, there is in between the 2 crosswalks, there is additional space to pull in. And then at 4th Street, we're looking for 3 spaces. And again, that's why this deck is, that's why I started off with this. But literally the reasoning behind that is because everything goes to traffic flow and safety. If we have 1 car pulling in, we can move it forward and pull in a second car. If we have a 3rd car pulling in, we can move them both up and pull in a 3rd car. And that allows us to ensure there's no bottlenecks or no cars in the street. And that was something that's very important to us. And it's something that the National Parking Association and the International Association of Parking and Mobility recommends as best practices.
Right. So let's take them one at a time. In front of Spiga, we can't give you any of those spots because it's a state highway, right? We've tried to help them during COVID with barriers, and we had our barriers removed by the state. The state put in orange cones versus our crash barriers that were approved back in 2020 or 2018 or whatever. They wanted to put in concrete barriers that were approved in the 1990s. All right, so we can't help you on that location. On the Elm Street, we can't have cars being pulled in regularly by a crosswalk. We're trying to stop that and make the traffic not pull in at those. It's lined right now, but we just, because of the 25-foot rule on crosswalks, we lost all those spaces to state regulations. So we can't approve that either, right? And the bump out is trying to improve the flow, improve the safety, improve the sight line there. And as for Forest Street, I would like to see those barriers removed, go back to pre-COVID times where we can park on the right-hand side and improve parking there. And I don't think we can take away a handicap space and lose another space to valet.
And we have no interest, and we're not going to be touching that handicap space whatsoever. That handicap space is going to be left wide open, and it's one space, but it's almost a space and a half. As you know, the sidewalk kind of bends in there. We're looking in front of that. And so there's only 1 handicap space there on the entire block. The next closest handicap space is either up on Main Street, or in front of the art gallery, or in the Locust Street lot. And so what we're looking at really doing here is taking that 1 handicap space and multiplying it by infinity, because we're going to be offering free handicap parking at our valet service for anybody that has a certified tag. And the restaurants are willing to support helping us get that done. And so and people are parking on Cherry Street to go up to Street. They're parking pretty much all over the place. This is just a solution for those restaurants and a solution for the handicapped and seniors.
Okay, and then what happens if 3, 4 cars pull up all at the same time and you have 2 valets? What happens then? Because we're kind of down to 1 lane on Forest Street, given the bump outs on the left and then parking on the right.
We're planning on staffing this stand with 4 people. The solution that we're looking at right now, whether it's 49 to 51 Locust, there's up and down parking lot with 100 spots, or 50 Locust, which is at the end of the street. It's literally a 1-minute turnaround for my guys to run and get the car back. And so that's essentially to answer Mr. McLaughlin's question, and that's why we actually have, in best practices, have 3 spots or the equivalent of 3 spots, because you have a car pull in and then you move it up if necessary. You stage it, you have another car pull in, you move it up, and meanwhile you're able to do that. We're able to park 8 cars per half hour per person. So we're going to be able to park 24 to 32 cars per half hour on this stand. Only really estimating about 50 cars a night. If it gets more, I'll put more people there. But this is probably the biggest need in town right here. We've had 100% support from the diner, from the folks at Cava, from the Tequila Mockingbird, who I've consulted from the very beginning because of my relationship with Paul Tully, for a long time. But I've just been asking everybody their opinion, and everybody wants it done because their customers want it. And again, if you look at it from a benefiting the town perspective, they can literally park their car through us here at this stand right near that trash can. And then they can go up and have cocktails at Elm, and we will bring their car to them at Elm or wherever that you agree that we can park on. But so we're just trying to solve a problem, and we're willing to work with the town in any way that you need us to make sure that it works for you and it works for the residents.
Okay. Any public comments on this? Okay, hearing none.
I would mention one thing, if I may, sir.
Sure.
That one of the first people I spoke to were the folks, Barb and Nick over at Staying Put in New Canaan.
Okay.
Paul Tucker, can I jump in for a minute?
Yep.
Wearing my administrative officer hat. So I've met with Billy on this. Laura and I did, as well as Stacy Miltenberg from the parking department. And while we applaud the out of the box thinking, we still have some concerns. But at the parking commission meeting last week, one of the things that came up, and I'm still researching this with our insurance company, if we were to allow them to have any town-owned property locations, there would be some, and they have the insurance, which they have showed us, which is great, but we would have to work through that. I did make a preliminary call to our insurance company, and there were some concerns, so we would just have to work through that.
Okay. All right, well, just as a practical matter, since 136 Main Street is out, because we can't do that, I think 59 Elm is out because we can't have you pulling into a crosswalk area, or because the bump out will then be there, so there's no area to pull into. It only sort of leaves you with 18 Forest and 45 East Street. What's that? Where's that?
That's Cherry Street East. I was just bringing it to the attention of the police commission that I was talking to them in regards to the opportunity to park on his property. I mean, that they have their own parking lot, and I would be picking up and dropping off on their property specifically. The only thing I would suggest, and you guys brought it up today, and as it was an option that I wanted to bring to the police commission's attention, is that there is an opportunity to service Elm Street by utilizing the spaces in front of the agency right there at 6 South Ave, essentially prior to the crosswalk where you have those
street closures for the events that you guys were talking about earlier.
Right.
That would allow us to drop off those vehicles right there on those 3 spots in front of the agency. They would be coming in from, South Ave, not from Elm.
Jesus.
They'll give them
Hi, Susan. I can see you. Susan.
That's just something I want to suggest, that's something that we had considered.
Yeah.
As an option, because there's not going to be any bump outs. There are spots there already. And it would give the folks with limited mobility literally, a 50-foot walk instead. And I think that we can educate the residents that if they want a valet on Elm, then they're going to have to pull in on South right by next to the past the gas station. And it does give us the ability to, again, not stop traffic down on Elm Street, but also solve the problem when the parking lots are full and they're having to go to the schoolhouse lot over by the library, or they actually just order delivery instead, or if it's a snowstorm, it's still a better opportunity. So I would just suggest, as a backup or an alternate, the address right there at 6 South Ave, and there's 3 spots available there.
Bump outs are gonna be crowding in on that area.
There's also, yeah, there's also a partial bump out that's there in that crosswalk area. Motorcyclists. I don't know, we're working
With the town to solve anything I can to work through it, but yeah.
I appreciate your efforts. I do.
Right now
when
the
you
4th
gonna
Street
do
is the biggest.
how is it working with the Roger Sherman Inn?
We're waiting for our first event. They love the idea. I'm working with Sue, their event planner, to actually, they have, these events are planned well in advance. So, we've gotten the word out that valet parking is available to the Roger Sherman Inn for any event. They wanted me to work an event 3 weeks ago, but I didn't have everything in place. We just did finalize, our general liability and garage keepers, as well as our workman's comp, and got everybody trained up. So, we kind of have an agreement in principle with Nez and Joseph. We haven't done an event there yet, but we're looking forward to it. I mean, it's
Sure.
right up their alley. That's what they asked for. And again, it has everything to do with mobility, of getting handicapped and seniors across the street. Because right now, just like in town, New Canaan, I mean, the only solution is to drop off their handicapped and senior loved ones, then drive across the street and walk 300 yards back. And I think we all know, if you've ever done that in the wintertime, it's a problem. So we're looking forward to our partnership with Nez and Joseph. And we're doing private parties in town, which is awesome. And we look forward to proving what we can do, at the very least, starting off on Forest, because we have 6. We've got 6 restaurants there that are looking forward, and basically all of them are waiting to see if we can get your, 6-month trial approval.
All right, discussion here?
My thought is it raises a lot of questions, and I don't feel like I am prepared to vote to approve it tonight without some further discussion amongst us and John and the police.
I'd add that the town of Greenwich last year hired a valet company to work within their in-town community.
Yeah.
Do that because $75,000.
You're cutting out.
Billy, you're cutting out.
You just adjust this. I should mention that, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Better.
That the town of Greenwich did a study and figured out there was an issue in their town, similarly with mobility and with a lack of convenience. And they actually went out and hired a company to come down during limited hours when it was peak. They paid that company $75,000 to service the residences, the residents, and it was a huge success. That's the one thing that I would kind of at least mention, is that we're doing this on our own, investing our own funds, best in class insurance, hiring locally, buttoned up delivery, best technology in the industry. And more than happy to talk a little bit deeper on that with you, but we're not looking for a permanent approval here. I think that maybe if we could solve a problem on Forest Street, and you can see the way that we work, let us prove ourselves, get some good feedback to you on a timely basis. I think that you might have, I think you'd be pleasantly surprised.
Well, all right, here's my thoughts. Since we're pretty limited here. You know, it's not Elm anymore. It really isn't Elm. It isn't Main. It isn't Cherry Street. It isn't East. Forest, we were trying to look at that on a couple other fronts. And I think what I'd like to do is try to go back to that original process that we had there on Forest Street to remove the barriers and then see what the parking does after that to pre-COVID times. I think, you know, I encourage you to, you know, stay with the Roger Sherman Inn and see how that goes. And we'd like to monitor your progress there, if that makes sense from a commission point of view.
Could I, do you mind if I just,
No.
I have a quick question. And I apologize. I've been kind of quiet the whole time. And
Yeah.
you know, I love hearing my husband talk. But we just had a whole 30 minutes about people leaving keys in their car and their cars getting stolen. How can we get the word out? Make New Canaan safer. Well, to me, it kind of makes sense if you drop off your car with a valet and it's Friday and Saturday night when it's the busiest, we actually have a locked, safe place for those keys. So number one, you know that they're not getting stolen. Number two, we can provide some sort of education or have something on lock, you know, so this might be a good partnership. I think what we're really trying to do here is exactly what you're saying, to even see if it works. Because quite frankly, my husband and I both have full-time jobs. I work at St. Luke's as a debate coach and finance and entrepreneurship teacher. And my husband works in the construction industry. So we're trying to do this really as a sideline to we've moved here from Texas about 3 years ago. And a way that we like to give back to the community is to solve problems. We're not looking to become millionaires, becoming, you know, New Canaan Ballet, right? We saw that there was an issue with mobility. We have friends that are small business owners on Forest Street. We're consumers on Forest Street. And so we're trying to see if we can't improve things. And I totally understand wanting to wait and see with Roger Sherman and all that other stuff, but we've already got that in place. What we need your help with is we need your help to let us see if this actually makes sense for us to continue to put our time and effort into working with the city of New Canaan. And I think we do, honey. Isn't that like kind of what we're trying to do here?
No, that the town of New Canaan is crucial to the process, because even when you do open up the barriers and remove them on Forest, you're still going to have a mobility issue. There are no handicap spots on that right side of the road. And so you only have one handicap spot on all of Forest Street. And even with those 10 spots that you're opening up, there's still 70 people, 80 people, 100 people a night that are having to walk from Cherry Street up a hill around the corner, or from the post office Locust Lot down a hill around the corner. What we're doing is we're asking for 3 parking spots to show a solution to give free handicap parking for anybody that has a certified tag, easy mobility off of the road. Because when all those spots are filled and every spot is taken on both sides of the road, you guys have done it and I've done it. People stop their car in the middle of Forest and they offload and load. And people are parking in that handicap spot who aren't handicapped to pick up their food at one of those 6 restaurants. And they're putting on their blinkers. What we're doing is monitoring those situations for the town. We're making that one handicap parking spot 100, because we're going to park as many handicap cars that come in there. And we're giving people an opportunity to pull in, drop us their car and run in and get their food rather than put their blinkers on and run in and get their food. It's just, I mean, I was stuck for 10 minutes behind someone getting in their car just the other day on Forest. So even if you pull the bump outs out, you're still going to have the same issue of it being a 1-lane road. And if someone's stopping the car in the middle, you're still going to have an issue of no mobility for seniors and no mobility for handicapped.
All right, Billy, here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna talk to Tucker and find out what the town can and cannot do. 'Cause
Awesome.
I'm not sure. Which puts this on hold, all right?
Understandably so. Yep.
We'll do that. We'll meet with Tucker. Tucker's gonna do her homework. She'll come back to us and explain what the lawyers say, because I don't know what our liability is. And I can't commit our town to something like that.
Of course.
Let us do that. Let us do that and come back either next month or the month after, depending on how they get their homework done.
Terrific. You know, our goal would be to try and get things ready at some level, you know, for special events, working with the town for the holiday season.
There's a question, how much does it cost to valet your car?
Right now, our model has $10 as a cost to valet your car. And right now, the restaurants are validating those tickets. And so the restaurants are paying
the 10. Got it.
Paying for the right. So yeah, so $10. And again, a lot of people have said it should be more. A lot of people have said we shouldn't do the free valet for handicapped. The way that we have it working right now is that the restaurants are validating tickets and paying for the right to offer their customers convenience. And so in most cases, 95, 99% of the cases, it's going to be completely free to the customer.
Okay.
Billy, I have one question. You mentioned several times about having support from the restaurants. Is there any way I could see this somewhere? Is there any?
Well, no. I could. We could give you a name of. We can give you a list of the people that we've spoken to. You know, whether it's Newbie at Kava or whether it's Paul Tully at Tequila, or whether it's Chef Luke at Elm or John Barker. Listen, for across the board, 100% of the people said we love this idea, but at the same time, I didn't have anything approved. So they've just been conversations of let me know when you get approval. I mean, it's the same thing with almost anything. Is I'm kind of stuck in a little bit of a Valhalla, but yeah, absolutely. You know, I could request for a letter of support from all of the restaurants on 4th Street that are interested, because the fact is the only way the model works is for those restaurants to pay for the stands to be there, right. Because they're offering their customers free valet. I mean, that is the model, is for these restaurants to offer all their customers free valet, because frankly, some of them lose business to Elm.
All right, Billy, we're going to wrap this up because we've got to wait for the homework to be done. And when that is completed, we'll come back to you.
Well, we appreciate your time.
No, thanks. No, look, you look.
Hey, and thank you so much for doing this. Yeah, it was just a crazy little idea. Hopefully we can help the town and become part of the community, helping the community have a friendly face to help with the parking situation. I'm so glad to be part of, this, even though it's on Zoom. I hopefully will get to meet everyone in person, and definitely let us know anything you might need.
No, we appreciate it, and thank you. Thanks for the effort, and welcome to town.
Thank you.
We're a very welcoming community. I mean, I'm not from here either, but
no, we love it. We love it. I absolutely love it. It's a wonderful town, and we're all, always looking for ways to be involved or help. So
Tucker, you've got all my information. If you need anything from me, please let me know.
Great. Thank you.
I do, Billy. Thank you.
Guys, take care, folks.
All right, on to E, course approval for Lieutenant Feranga.
Lieutenant Feranga is looking for approval to take a course towards his graduate degree called Learning Community. I recommend approval.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. That's okay. Course approval for Brian Connolly.
Officer Connolly is taking a course towards his graduate level degree.
Right.
And I recommend approval.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. H, let's talk about barriers. Status of the barriers. Tiger. What is the status of the barriers in the center of town, and what is the status of the barriers on Forest Street?
At present, there's still,
Let's start with Elm, because that's the easier one.
well, both locations are still out.
Yes.
You know, there's a feeling that the governor's orders are still in place, and therefore we still need to have them there. We are looking to try to put in the bump outs this fall. Right now, there's a.
All right, just back on that.
All right, go ahead.
The governor's orders.
Yeah.
For what? Because as I understood it,
Mm-hmm.
the governor's orders were for outdoor dining. And what we were doing was we're trying to help the restaurants stay in business by promoting as much outdoor dining as possible. Now we have indoor dining as well as outdoor dining.
Mm-hmm.
What are we protecting here? Especially on Forest Street.
I think they're the same. I mean, I can't answer, that. I'm under the understanding that everyone still wants them out. The restaurants and the merchants still want them.
Well, of course they do, because it's more space. It's free space. It's free dining space for the restaurants. And we love these restaurants. I go to all of them. But we've got to return to normal here at some point, especially in Forest, where we can get parking again on the right-hand side. So I don't see how the governor's orders has anything to do with it anymore.
Paul, can I jump in?
Does anyone know, does the governor's order restrict in
Indoor?
restaurant dining at all? For a while, they allowed you X
Half.
percent. and so forth.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's all off now.
Yeah, those are all, we are not operating under any sector rules. However, there was a bill. I spoke with our legal counsel today on this just to find out exactly what we were obligated as what our present status was for the outdoor dining. And I had a brief conversation with him this afternoon, and he said, unfortunately, and he was racing to pick up one of his kids, he said, it's not a quick and easy answer. There is a bill that does allow for outdoor dining to stay in place and modifications to be made that is in the process of being passed. However, there are some ADA complexities with that still need to be addressed. He promised me that he would get me more of an answer tomorrow morning. He said clearly the municipality, if the municipality feels that they want to keep it in place, he thinks that we can, but he's not entirely sure how the governor's rules apply to this at this time.
All right, I see no ADA issues here. All right. There were no ADA issues before COVID. There's no ADA issues today that I see. If I'm wrong, please tell me. What I'm trying to do is create more parking on Forest Street and to solve a parking problem there. I understand the issues on Elm, but we're going to get back to normal there too with the bump outs. The next normal, and where do we stand on that as well, Tiger?
We're trying to get them in this fall.
Is it out to bid and all of that?
Yeah, contracting community is extremely busy. There's, so I'm trying to slot it in whereby I'm not going to pay an arm and a leg to, somebody will come and do it for me. I'd rather have it that they want to come and do it, right? That they're hungry. Right now, nobody's hungry. So we're trying to slot it in and get it in by the end of the season, at least on the northern side. We might not be able to get the southern side, but we could get the northern side in. And then at that point in time, remove those.
Right, and then the other side would be right by the crosswalk.
Right, and that's a small installation at that point in time whereby we could take that out. Yeah, it's.
Paul, I'm still here representing the chamber, and there are a couple of local businesses that hopped on as well. I sort of took a temperature read. I emailed everyone on Elm and Forest. And, the bottom line is whatever we do, we're not going to make everybody happy for sure. The restaurants obviously still feel that their clientele, specifically on Elm, the restaurants, really still want to eat outside, and that, people will call up, and if they can't get a table outside, they'll go someplace else. And people don't want to be packed in inside. On the other side of the coin is, people who feel the loss of the 15 spaces along the side of Elm, and certainly the north side of Elm, the parallel spaces, as well as down on Forest, is a real hindrance, specifically on Elm for the shopping. Businesses whose clientele is older, they feel that, if they don't see a space, they go on. A lot of people have issues with the truck traffic on Elm, and that, by squeezing the street a little bit, it presents an issue, and they really want more space. So it's a real conundrum. I'm glad I'm not going to be the one to make the decision. There are many stores who are happy to have the liveliness of more outdoor dining, because it will significantly impact that. So I just want to let you know, I also have Elm here. Elm is here. Susan Ryan is here, and Chef Louis is on. So I don't know if any of them want to, if you don't mind hearing directly from them, it's not just coming through me.
Love to hear from them. Hi, Susan.
I'm Laura Barker from Elm.
Hi,
Can you?
Laura.
Hi, thank you for
Hi.
having me tonight. Laura Budd touched on a lot of the things that I had emailed her about earlier. I did speak to Paul Tully today. I don't know if he's on the call. He felt similarly. I know Chef Louis, I see him on the call as well. And I don't presume to speak for everyone, but I would guess that they feel similarly, that we would like to advocate for keeping the barriers in place as long as possible. The feedback that we have gotten has all been very positive from our diners. We feel that visitors that come to town that see full patios gives off the impression of a lively, thriving town, and that's great for all businesses. And that creates buzz for town in general. And in addition, as we enter into the fall and early winter months, we feel like outdoor dining should be an option that's available, as people have different comfort levels with COVID. So with cold and flu season, people like to know that they have that option, and we really don't know yet what flu and cold season will bring yet. So we will have heaters, we have blankets, we want to partner with the town, with Tiger, with the chamber. If there's any kind of inclement weather, we're happy to bring everything in with a little bit of notice. And if I just in trying to come up with solutions for the retailers, I was wondering, I know Greenwich they offer a few 15-minute parking spaces for people who just want to run in for something quickly. And I also think that I always find parking in the municipal lots, especially in the back of Elm, maybe we can direct visitors to town to these pedestrian parking lots so that they know where they are if they're unfamiliar with town. So that's really all I have to say. I don't know if Chef Louis has anything further to add, or if Paul's on the call, but I know you're in a difficult spot. It's hard to keep everybody happy, but we've really enjoyed having the additional outside space, and we know that people are still using it and used it quite a bit last winter.
Right. And I think that we are all in agreement on the outdoor space on the south part, on the north part of Elm Street. Because the bump out that's what the bump out sort of takes care of, allows for a more permanent outdoor space there, as well as a sidewalk, right? You understand that, right?
Yes.
Can I just add to that? Laura, I think you may have received this as well. I got an email from the people at Rosie's.
Yep.
Where the bump out will be, but do have barriers. urging us to keep the barriers up for some time, saying that it's very important to their business. They said about 50% of their business now is outdoor because there are still many people who don't feel comfortable dining indoor. And I know,
Right.
you know, I guess I'm less cautious than I should be. I've been going in restaurants virtually every day for a year and a half. But
Right.
I know a lot of people who
We can tell. No, that you've been spending time in town. That's all I meant. Trying to lighten it up here.
Yeah, yeah, very good. But I know a lot of people who will not go into a restaurant.
Yeah.
And especially now with this new COVID variant that's out, there are a lot of people who feel less comfortable than they did, you know, months ago. So
Okay.
The message from Rosie's was that they strongly urge us to keep those barriers up that are in front of their business. I would say, you know, maybe we revisit that once the weather gets cold, but I wanted to pass along that message that they sent.
Yeah, Paul, I also have Susan Ryan here from Elm Street Books, and she has a counter opinion. So I'd love for her to represent the other side, if that's okay.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hi, Susan. Yes.
Hey, I'm sorry I couldn't hear the last opinion that I'm supposed to be counter to, but I have to say, when people used to complain about parking to us at Elm Street Books, they don't seem to anymore. They seem to have adapted to the lack of parking spaces. Of course, we'd all like to have a million more parking spaces, but that's not particularly our complaint at the moment. And I love having the restaurants on the street. I really think that adds a lot to the town and the ambiance of, you know, people being there. My real concern is the aesthetics of the barriers. If I would be in favor of us continuing the barriers for a long time, but could we make them a little more attractive? I mean, we could, I'm sure some people would gladly pay to have them changed to something else besides these white plastic things, since there's so many of them. It really, I mean, New Canaan's biggest asset is its cute little Elm Street and its cute little Forest Street and its cute little Main Street. It doesn't look so appetizing to me right now with these white barriers all down the street. I'm sure, and lots of the retailers that I've talked to agree, and we would be glad to participate in some way in getting them to look better. I think it's very hard to make white plastic barriers look attractive. And if we could get them to look better, I think everybody would be happier. It would be nice if you could, you know, have one row of tables so that, you know, you didn't have to have barriers, but I gathered from Laura that you can't do that. So it's either all or nothing. But I wouldn't want to see the restaurants cut down their outside dining. I think it looks great, but somehow or other, could we make it look a little better? And I'd be more than glad to spearhead form a committee to let us do that, and, you know, while we obey the law. I know we have to do that. We can't, not do that. Right. But that's, I think, most of the concern of the retailers I talk to. I know we're stuck with the handicap parking and all that. I mean, I think we've given up on trying to get the spaces back from the crosswalks and that kind of thing. But
right. That's kind of a lost cause because of the state regulations. But the bump outs will solve a lot of this problem on the north side of Elm Street, because the barriers will come down and the sidewalk will be widened, and we're going to lose some spaces, but we actually pick up spaces other places. My concern is kind of like yours, is on Forest, where it looks awful, on Forest Street, where we've had these barriers up now for a year and a half, and the restaurants do have that bump out. The bump out was put in years ago for them, and now, you know, in my opinion, the time has come to take those down. I see Chef Luis. Chef, great to see
good
you.
evening. Good to see everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. Just wanted to reiterate, like what Mrs. Barker just said. I think it's very important, you know, to keep the outdoor dining open and available, because I believe that this, I mean, the good part of it, we are bringing people from out of town into New Canaan, and I think probably we can work something out with all the other retailers to help them also promote their business as we're doing with our restaurants. But something that I just I wanted to let you know is I had a lot of calls for reservations, and they all want to sit outside. And then when I say that we do not have the space, they say, well, when they were going someplace else. And I say, well, you know, that's good because it's other restaurants they have also, you know, outside ability to serve food. But that's the case. And then I think removing the barriers right now, listen, we had to do it, we had to do it, we had to figure it out, we need to survive. But I think we are contributing to the town and to the residents to provide a service and just to bring them out of their house because, you know, they're being in jail for more than 18 months and being out and making the town, make the towns look better as well. So that's all I have to say about that. And thank you for the opportunity.
Great, thank you.
Paul, I will say that when I polled everyone down on Forest Street, they are more amenable. You know, some would like, one restaurant wants to keep them, one would like them to go immediately, and the others would be happy if they went at the end of October. I didn't hear from Cava. Tequila's happy to have them go. Gates would like to have it up through the end of October. And I think, what's the other one right there? Farmer's Table is happy to have them go anytime. So they're not, because they do have the extended sidewalk, you know, it's not as big a deal to them. So just wanted to put that in there as well.
That could be a good solution to this.
So that's 6 weeks from now.
Yeah, and look, the weather's pretty nice. We want to encourage outdoor dining. We want to send that message to all the restaurants that no one's on this commission or in the police department wants to cut back on anybody's business, period. In fact, we, you know, encourage the barriers all year long, even during snowstorms or around the snowstorms, so that they could remain open and people would eat outside and support the businesses during these tough times. But I think it's getting time to get back to a more normal setting here or footing. And I think that might be a better solution is at the end of October, you know, when the weather does get bad in November and December, like once we get to the colder days, people aren't going to really want to eat outside anyway. The Delta variant is declining and people are more comfortable eating inside. So if that's a possibility.
Are you suggesting that for Forest and Elm or just Forest?
No, just Forest. I'm just Forest because Elm's got to stay the way it is in my mind until the bump outs happen.
I agree.
All right. I think we're all in agreement of that we don't want to take them out pre-bump out, bring parking back, then go back and forth. It's too disruptive to the restaurants and to people. People want to eat outside. And we get it. And that's why the bump outs are going in, is to promote that sort of more walking town, walking village, if you will, for restaurants, for strolling, for later night strolling. And that's what we'd like to see. I just think that down on Forest, we've already had the bump outs. They were put in years ago for that purpose, and it accomplished that purpose. And now that we're sort of through this crisis, the health crisis, that it's time to remove those barriers, get back to parking on the right-hand side, create some more parking there, and move forward. My thoughts, your thoughts.
Why don't, with that in mind, why don't we vote on a motion to maintain the Elm Street barriers on the north side until the bump outs are in place.
Right.
And to maintain the barriers on Forest Street until October 31st. We could always change our mind at our next meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I would move that we approve that.
Okay. Thoughts? Second that?
I second.
Okay. I'm in favor of that as well. So we'll take a vote. All those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
And Susan, to your point about them being more attractive, if you all had come up with something that you think would work, I'm sure everybody would love to hear it.
My only thing was, if you're going to leave them up permanently, and I'm in favor of doing some of it on Elm Street if we could, because I think it adds a lot to the town. If I'm sure we could come up with something. The restaurants certainly would. I don't think any of the restaurants like these white barriers, but they like outdoor dining, which everybody does. So if we could, I mean, I can see them in other places. They put trees up, they put something up that isn't white and plastic and filled with water. If you want us to, I'd be glad to come in and figure out, you know, some kind of proposal we could do. If you're willing to leave some of the barriers up, you know, if you're not, then there's probably not any use in doing it.
Yeah, I think we're trying to head to get rid of the barriers altogether.
Is okay. So,
And the bump outs accomplishing what we're trying to do is the outdoor dining, more space for outdoor dining as well as a pedestrian walkway.
so if you put the bump outs, does that allow outdoor dining where the bump outs are?
Yes. Yeah, it would be basically where the outdoor dining is now stays and that the sidewalk comes out a little further. Yes.
So down
Except not on the far edges, you know, like not down by Rosie or down by Chef, because it's just going to be concentrated on the Elm South intersection and the Playhouse Bank of America area. So it definitely, it'll change the dynamics, you know, on the edges there.
Okay, so there's no outdoor dining then at Rosie and Patisserie down in there.
It'll be back to pre-COVID levels.
I think, you know, you might find people that like to keep that up down there. I don't know.
Well,
I mean, I can't speak for them.
We're available to discuss that. We're always available to discuss that.
Yeah, that's very nice of you. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Moving on. Oh, Laura has a question. I can't see it.
Can you hear me? Am I muted?
Yeah, no, now I got you.
Oh, okay. This is my first meeting, so I'm just really not clear on what a bump out is exactly.
Oh, sure. What a bump out is we approved to have the town extend out the sidewalk to basically the end of the parking lane is right now. So to the outside of where the barriers are now is where the sidewalk will extend to.
Laura, we can walk you through it. We had a couple of sessions where we.
Fine, we don't have to talk about this now. I was
I'm trying to give a short answer.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Short works.
Yeah, it'll work.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the last question.
Yes.
So I just hear, so we are like this, the Anu Roses, and we're going to go back to where we were before. So basically the only restaurants are going to be benefits the restaurants that are in the middle of the road, right?
That's where it is set up right now.
Okay. Right. And there is any proposals to benefit the other restaurants in any other way?
We're gonna have to talk to Tiger about that and see what we can do in that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Again, we're open to suggestions. We are open to discussion. Okay.
Okay.
Building renovation update.
So we should know more in a couple of weeks. There's a combined meeting. I think Town Council, Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen. You folks are, I assume, invited to hear about all the different proposals.
Right. It's basically three. I see it as three proposals. Three proposals are build a new station at another location. And I don't know if that location has been publicly talked about, but everybody in town seems to know about it. The other proposal is to renovate this building as new. And as a building committee member, we've also been asked to look at building a new building on this site. So as I see it, it's three proposals or three ideas that should bubble up and be discussed and talked about. And that's what the agenda, I believe, is for the next meeting, September 29th.
Yes.
For the three town bodies, which would be Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and Town Council. And then the building committees will be there as well. The two building committees.
That's right.
Right. So that's where we are. There are no plans. There's no drawings. You asked me about architectural plan. We don't have anything yet.
There's no architectural plans.
No, we haven't even chosen
The architects will
architect
do
yet.
presentations in that meeting. So
Right.
Gotcha.
that'll give a lot of clarity.
And I think what we have are rough estimates for numbers.
Cost.
Yeah, rough, without, getting down to hard numbers.
Yep.
Right. Is that about right, Tucker?
Yeah, not the building committee. My understanding was that the architects will be presenting at that joint meeting.
Okay, but I assume the building committee is invited and will.
Oh,
be-
of course. Yes. The invitation, the meeting was
I
just
think
getting.
I think the invitation went out to everybody today, Paul.
Yeah, it did. So that's what we're seeing there. Okay, J is item J, animal control shelter update, Chief.
So Elise is in final draft version. I believe there might be one more revision, and then it goes to the Board of Selectmen for review and approval.
Right.
In essence, it allows us to use a facility in town as a necessary animal control shelter if our current shelter isn't being used, for a pretty nominal daily fee that'll kind of meet the needs if there's an issue at our current shelter. So seems adequate, not perfect, but
Seems like a great solution to a problem that comes up now and then without spending a lot of money on a permanent shelter. Okay.
that's right.
So I'm sorry, Leon, so does that mean that the current shelter will no longer be needed?
No,
Or-
no. It's what the proposal is, it's a backup to the current shelter.
Okay,
Current shelter remains operational fully.
okay, all right. I just wanted to check.
Don't, Tiger, don't shut down.
I'm not gonna shut it. I had no plans to, but
Water, don't shut off the power.
Headline.
Or we're dropping, or they're gonna be dropping them in your house. All right. Letters of appreciation.
Sure. Some nice letters from the public about the great work that our officers do. First one is from a resident regarding Sergeant Milligan and Officer Chanella. They were assisted pretty much in two distinct incidents. And in closing, the resident says, in most towns, you can't even get a patrol car to come by after a call. That is not the case in this town, and we are all safer for it. Thanks for hiring such a talented group of officers and for your hard work. I'm fortunate that we are to live in this town with a marvelous police force. We are big fans of the police and really appreciate your help. So that's certainly a nice letter.
Very good.
Next one is for Tom Callanan. He received a thank you from a resident regarding his work, and much appreciated.
Right. Great.
Another note is for Officer Dewey. He was commended for a medical emergency at a resident's home, and he said that Officer Dewey showed genuine care and compassion for a very difficult situation. So thanks, Officer Dewey, for handling that incident so well.
Okay. Any other new business that we should add? None? Okay. Let's go into executive session. I need a vote to go into executive session.
So move.
Second. Aye. We appreciate everybody on the call tonight. Thank you.
you have to invite people in, Paul?
Pardon me?
You have to invite people in?
We do.
Do we have anything
Yeah.
we need to do in executive session?
Yes, we do.
We do.
We do have an executive. Tiger, we're gonna invite Tiger and his
Chris Kaiser.
Chris Kaiser.
Yeah,
He's in?
Joe, he's in the waiting room.
Okay.
He had to step off for a second, so he's back in the waiting room. And then, and Joe won't be able to join us. And then,
Okay, so we could.
if you want Tucker, who else you
All right,
want?
we go into executive session at 7:55.
We're not there yet. There's still
Okay.
people on.
Okay. Right, I would have hung up on everybody. Okay. Hey Tucker, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, we want to, yeah, Tucker on this, on the first item.
I'm not gonna remove you. Hold on.
Okay. The first item is talking about the cameras at the park.
Hold on.
Okay, vote to come out of executive session. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All right, any other new business? Hearing none, motion to adjourn at 8:45. Aye. Second. All in
Aye.
favor? Aye. Thank you. Good night.